How's it going, everyone? My name is Adam Wentz, and I'm back with the second and hopefully last update video for Alpha 0.0.1.2 of Derelict, which I will, for the rest of the video, be calling 1.2 because I don't want to have to say 0 twice before it. But yeah, this week I finished up a good majority of the base character animations, barring a couple that I forgot that are actually really easy. Basically I took care of all the hard time consuming ones like walk cycles and like dive rolling and things like that. I have to do the vaulting and I have to do the jump, falling, and landing cycles, which those are all really easy to do actually, believe it or not. But yeah, so I've started my camera, I think somewhere over there, I don't know, I flew around. But we're over here now, and I'm just going to show off to start some of these animations. Da, 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 da. If it wants to begin. Hello, I'm in a building. Maybe 5K. Alright. But yeah, I finished up the crouching animations. I need to redo the pants model a little bit because the boots clip through. I'm just going to do that by widening the cuff at the bottom. Really easy. But you can see like jumping, it still contorts the feet a little too much. But like I've got the crouching. Let me get outside of this building so I can show you the parkour stuff. We'll just go out the window. Yay. So I can dive roll. I can jump right. I can jump left, forward, back. You know how it goes. And then if you noticed, which you may not have, but I definitely did, in the past versions, vaulting and jumping and diving and all the parkour movements, as I call it in code, have been bound to your frame rate. So if you had a higher frame rate, you'd complete your dive really quick and it'd basically teleport you forward. But if you had a lower frame rate, like if you have a poor computer and your graphics are maxed out, and you tried to do one of the vaults, it would move you along at your frame rate, and you may not even get to the end of the desired vault location by the end of the animation when it stops and allows you to gain control of your character again to walk around. So I figured out how to kind of do a pseudo tick function where it basically just uses a boolean and then a timer on a 60th of a second tick, or 40th of a second or 20th, or however often I want it to refresh. I think for the vaulting and stuff I do it at 40, because it doesn't need to be too far above 40. After like 30 it starts to become diminishing returns and just a lot more data to push, which causes lower frame rate. So it's all the balancing of frame rates at this point. I'm doing optimizations before this release. Floating meshes. Floating meshes. The bane of my existence. I keep finding them. But anyway, yeah. So I fixed that. So now it's on a 40th of a second. You're always going to get to exactly the same place. So if I line myself up on this lighting error here, which I'm going to fix, but is good for testing purposes right now, I jump forward, I end up here, jump backwards, and I'm right on the lighting error again. So you can see it's much more consistent, which means that wall collision is much more consistent as far as that goes. So when I do the ray casting, you're able to get closer to the wall before it stops your jump. Oops. Well, I say that, and then it puts me right through the wall. I think the reason behind that is actually the testing rays are still bound to the tick function. So downing that to the dive roll function will also make it so I'm not constantly sending out line traces. And then, as well as what I said earlier, it'll make it more efficient. So those two are nice optimizations, and one more optimization is kind of going to be the big one and the time consumer. However, something that's very necessary, and you'll see why, is weapon meshes. So let me open up the AK-47, which is a weapon mesh I recently redid. Put it in lit mode here. And you can see that this is more detailed than the old AK mesh was, if you compare it to the old AK mesh in older videos, which you don't have to, but you can take my word for it. It does look more detailed. With that being said, the poly count on this AK is actually 1500, I think, around 1500. And that's with the magazine here, right? The poly count on the old AK, I kind of don't want to say because it's embarrassing, but I have to say because it's important for the justification of redoing every armor piece and weapon in the game. The old AK was 12,000. 12,000 faces as compared to 1,500. That's a little more than 10% the faces in this, as opposed to the old model with more detail on it. So, if that's any justification. And then I had it in wireframe mode here. So you can see kind of how it looks nice and low poly. I'm actually going to go skeleton. Remove all attached assets. It's going to get rid of the, is it? Did that not work? I guess not. I guess I have to save the skeleton. Nope, whatever. Anyway, yeah, if I turn it on to wireframe here, that was a bit of a waste of time. It's kind of low poly. It's nice, and as far as for what I'm doing it for, there's a couple of higher poly things here, but you can see it's necessary for the rounding off at the bottom here. But everything else, I mean, it's only like 3-4 faces through the rest of it here. This stock has much wider segments. The body is like only 2 faces wide. I used a few more Boolean modifiers to keep the face count low. Yeah, things like that. It's where it needs to be high poly, it is, because this is a pretty strong engine, and I can give it LOD models as well. Especially with this new modeling technique. Not really new. I've been doing it with the meshes, with the props for a little while now as I've been redoing those, but it's something that I've really needed to move over to the guns. Yeah, it's high poly where it needs to be, low poly where it can be, and I really, really like it. Otherwise, no, I only have one LOD on this. Otherwise, if I go to like a AUG model, AUG A3, I can probably figure out exactly how many polys this is, but it looks lower detailed than the AK because it is. But if I put it into wireframe, there's just so many redundant extra faces all over this thing because I modeled it with subdivisions and loop cuts to give it, definition. So you can see where I put loop cuts into this thing to try to make this front face sharp. And I mean, shape wise it works, optimization wise, hell no. This is crazy high poly. I open Blender real quick. I redid the bullet casing. Yes, I'll save it, sure. If I open up the AUG A3 model, so you can see how I modeled it with loop cuts and everything. And the unwrap looks utterly disgusting. But if I were to go into my modifiers, apply the subdivision, and select them all, you can see in my faces 10,000. 10,000 faces. If I go to my don't save. If I go to my AK model that I recently made, instead of 10,000, we are at 1,700. So it's a little more than 1,500. I think it's because I added more details since that last number, like the rivets and everything. But 1,700 versus 10,000, and this looks better, doesn't it? You got these insets, you got all these rivets, you've got better unwrap, I would say, a nicer handle here. Everything just feels cleaner, and it's much lower poly, way lower poly. So don't save. So yeah, that's kind of the justification for that, and it's the same with the armor. And the armor is not going to fit over my current character model, so I have to redo that anyway. Dummy. Whatever. It's a labor of love. I've had some good luck applying for jobs lately. I got some follow-up questions from a company I'm very interested in my area. That was a bit of a tongue twister. And I'm very hopeful. I'm trying to stay optimistic about it. I'm definitely not saying that. Oh, they hit me with follow up questions online, so now I'm hired automatically. No, I'm still in the application process, but I'm hopeful with this one, and the fact that these guys are in my area and consistent and hiring multiple people from what I've seen online. I'm keeping my chin up and being persistent, and hopefully I'll have some good news on that. Other than that, yeah, that's about all the fixes I did this past weekish. Of course, my development groove has slowed because I'm trying to get a job. After I get my job and get settled into it and start doing this more on my free time, I'm sure the development rate will pick back up. Probably not ever to where it was while I was doing it through the alpha stages, just because I was working full time with that. Now I hope to move my full time work to assisting with a studio and being able to put food on my table. But this game isn't ever going to be abandoned. It's going to be in development for God knows how long. So, and I'll just keep updating it. I'll find an indie publishing site to put it on because Steam is giving me a couple problems. Um, Mostly it's my fault. It's completely my fault. I messed up with trying to publish it. I messed up the depot and build configurations and then never checked on it and then just expected, oh, 1 month later I'll come back and my game will be on Steam, and lo and behold, it's been sitting for a month with changes needing to be made. So how nice. So I'm gonna find an indie site to publish it on, so that I don't have to use Dropbox, especially because my Dropbox business trial expired, and if I want to get the game updates out to you guys, I got to do something about that. So, anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you guys next week, hopefully with the link for publishing and the 0.0.1.2 release, so that we can get on to 1.3 and start adding some more features. And you know how it goes. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.